Все. Витя, сядь, спокойно, не шевелись.
What did the privatization do to Russia?
Well, it's a complicated issue, but the answer is obvious. Privatization is everything for Russia. Privatization has completely changed the structure of the society, the structure of Russian economy. It's absolutely necessary precondition for a market economy. So without privatization, we just couldn't build anything what we have built.
But there is so much criticism about the way privatization was done in Russia. People say it was sold out, Russia was sold out.
Well, partially it's true. I'm not sure that it was possible to do it better or much better. I also think that there were certain mistakes. For example, it's a famous loan for shares scheme, which was implemented by Mr. Chubais. I guess was a very serious mistake. But at the same time, I don't think that you can make it absolutely fair. You couldn't satisfy everybody in privatization process. So I would agree that definitely it could be done better, but it was done how it was done.
Yes. I want to go back a little bit in time to 95 when there was the threat that the communism would return, that Zyuganov would win, and there was a very large pressure from the businessmen to win. Would you tell me a little bit about their involvement?
I'm sorry. Да. Не могу сейчас сказать, меня не соединить. Well, business plays a certain role. We provide some sponsorship for the campaign. We provide mainly a lot of organizational support. There were some people in business, and my partner Michael Friedman, for example, who still believes that it might be better for the country if Zyuganov has been elected, not Yeltsin. It's not still obvious. But at the same time, the choice was to support Yeltsin, and it has been done. I really believe that business did play a crucial role. That's right.
Crucial role. Can you elaborate a little bit? What do you mean crucial role? How did they...
Managerially. First of all, managerially. We have the major role of business was just to provide managerial support, everything, all campaign, I don't know, how it could be structured, promotion, advertisement, all things which are the most important in the country. Also, plus media resources. I think that's two things, managerial support and media resources, which are expensive.
But actually, I think the businessmen were also financed. This is what we were told in the West, and that they were financing the campaign.
Business took part in the financing of the campaign, but it definitely was not a single source. And I think that the money was maybe of a secondary importance. But this managerial support plus media resources of channels which at that time were owned by Mr. Berezovsky and Mr. Gusinsky, that were the most crucial things.
Everybody tells me the West cannot understand Russia, but you think that this is a unique thing that the businessmen were so much involved in the politics?
Well, I don't know examples of other countries, but I would expect that in some young democracies, especially in Latin America, business circles also played an important role. And I think that the role of the wealthier part of the society for this newly created democracies always are very important. So I think that Russia, that's a big belief in this country, that Russia is unique. Russia is not as unique as Russians believe it is.
You think in America also the business is involved in politics?
Well, well, of course, yeah, on a different scale and by different instruments. But I think that even in the United States, where it's much more open and transparent, I guess the role of business community is difficult to overestimate, and I guess they also play the role.
I was yesterday speaking with a professor of economy, and he told me that in Russia they made a research, and in Russia, if you want to succeed in business, you have to have the right connections. That this is unique for Russia, and they made a scientific research on it.
That's wrong. Well, yes and no. You need, well, Russia is an Oriental country, and Oriental in terms that friendship, personal relations matter much more in Russia, unfortunately, than they matter in the West. And that's Russian culture. Russia never was a real Western state. and all these informal relations are very, very important, and that's right. And relation with the authorities as well. But I wouldn't again overestimate. This was not the only source. There are a lot of people here in this country who were able to build business in spite of the de facto lack of connections with the authorities. And there were people who were very close to the authorities, and they disappeared. At the same time, there are certain groups who try to be distant. And Alpha is one example. We are criticized that we are very close to the Kremlin. That's completely wrong. We always try to build business independent from them, and so it's yes and no. Of course, in the country which is not liberal enough, where the authority has a serious influence, you need connections, but not to build business, but de facto to defend yourself from possible attacks. So you need, as we say in Russia, you need a roof, and this roof is your connection with the state. But to build business, they cannot help. You have to do it yourself.
I want to go specifically to you. You started in the government as one of the reformists, and then what made you decide to step over to business?
I wanted to make money. I wanted to build, that's very usual, I wanted to build personal wealth. So when that was exactly my decision when I resigned. It was the very end of 1992, and I had several proposals. The usual Russian story, then they propose you to go as ambassador or whatever. But I was 37 years old, and I thought that I have still chances to make money. And I started some consultancy business, then I joined Alpha. So it was just a personal choice, nothing else.
Yeah. And you did well. It was a good choice.
Well, from a monetary viewpoint, it was a good choice.
Yes. I wanted to go to the loans for shares that you were talking. This is something which is extremely criticized everywhere. What was the problem?
I guess it was a huge mistake. I wouldn't say the crime, because if you say the crime, then you accuse Mr. Chubais in a criminal affair. I think it was not a crime, because he was not bribed, he was not corrupted himself. He's absolutely honest gentleman. But at the same time, it was a huge mistake. The basic idea was just that the regime needs a support of big business, and big business does not exist. So it doesn't matter how, but you have to distribute big pieces of state wealth to the personalities. And they made just biased personal decisions to whom to give what, and they did it. And I think it was, well, you always have some sort of a limit. That's very difficult to compare fairness and efficiency. But in that exactly case, it was so unfair. And at the end of the day, it was very inefficient because they couldn't make a proper choice. And so we were very strong critics of this scheme. And in fact, I spoiled my relation with Mr. Chubais personally forever. After that, we didn't participate in the scheme, Alpha. And I guess it was really a huge mistake because it was too unfair. And in all other privatization cases, at least there was some sort of a competition. So, there were many other examples where de facto the state made a choice to whom to give something, but still there were mainly it was a competition. In that case, there was absolutely no competition whatsoever. It was absolutely biased choice, and so that's, I guess, all this loan for shares story put all the privatization process under very severe critics, as we hear from you. So I would agree, it was a very serious mistake.
Serious mistake, and you don't think there was anything corrupt in it?
Well, I'm sure that Mr. Chubais personally was not corrupted at all. And so basic idea, that was a wrong ideology. It was not corruption, no. Chubais really thought that we need to build big business groups. It was his political, ideological choice made after some mental pressure from some friends of him, from some big businessmen who wanted that. I won't mention names, but anyway, there were certain people who influenced him, and he believed in that. Personally, he was absolutely clean. I'm sure about that.
Who initiated this program?
That was some big businessman. That doesn't matter. That's all known, but I don't want to criticize anyone personally. But I think that Chubais was. I think that now he does understand that. I think that now he would agree that it was a mistake. But at that time, it was done. But again, once again, personally, he was absolutely not involved. He was not. For him personally, he made absolutely nothing. It was pure ideological, huge ideological mistake. They always quoted some famous Nobel Prize winner who said it doesn't matter how property is distributed, it's important that it is distributed. So it has to be in private hands. I guess it's a little bit exaggeration. You still have to have some considerations about fairness. In that case, they forgot about fairness absolutely. It was a mistake.
When you go, the claim is that actually it was done by purpose to build a sort of a very strong business.
That's right. Exactly. He believed that we have to build very strong business groups in order to support. First of all, he believed that these people who already built something, they need special support because they are the most efficient. So if you give them additional property, they will be able to manage this property more efficiently than anybody else. So that's good for efficiency. And from the other hand, he believed Chubais, and maybe Yeltsin as well, that these big groups are necessary to combat with communism.
And to support Yeltsin.
And yeah, what was absolutely synonymous.
Yes. Was there any dividends, any payback to those businessmen after the elections?
Well, again, it was there was no paybacks, but it was again the roof was very stable, so it was a dependence was very strong. So after that, those who participated in the support of the campaign and Alpha as well, definitely we were not afraid of this, the usual in this country, tax police coming for nothing. I don't know, fire police comes. To be frank, after 1996, those who supported Yeltsin were free of this sort of attacks.
You mean that here the bureaucracy could harass with no reason?
Absolutely.
And by
Absolutely.
could you just explain?
Well, that's a major problem that we discussed, the role of special relation with the state. In this country, bureaucracy has too much authorities, and they definitely can destroy the business. They just can come for nothing. They are seriously corrupted, of course, and that's a major problem. They cannot help you to build the business, but they can help to destroy your business. So again, what you need from bureaucracy in this country, you won't be out of view. That's the major role. And what country needs, and it needs as much as 10 years ago, that's serious liberalization. De facto, it means that bureaucracy cannot interfere in your business. And what these big groups gained after 1996, they were freed from this sort of involvement.
But did they get anything substantial like oil fields?
No, that was not the case. No,
You don't think that?
no, that's not. No.
Let's go back to 92 when the country was in ruins and they started to do the privatization. What were the problems in privatizing at that time?
Well, it was 100% or almost 100% state property, poorly managed, no control at all, empty shelves, the full lack of hard currency reserves, full disability to service the foreign debts, and so on and so forth. It was a full catastrophe. So the country needed certain steps to be done as soon as possible, and privatization was one very important means, just to give something to those who are able to manage. So I think that the idea that you have to privatize very fast was absolutely right. It was a right decision. At the same time, there were different technical problems with vouchers or whatever, many promises done for nothing, all these pyramids, and nobody protected the population from these pyramids. And I guess it was a very serious mistake once again, because people lost their money in these pyramids, and de facto privatization was criticized on that. So the country was in ruins, and something had to be done, and privatization was, of course, was necessary. So that's.
You were at the time in the government.
Да. Кириенко я возьму. Just a second. I'm sorry, we have 2 minutes. Okay. Алло.
Алло. Привет. Не стой за это.
We're a little time, so I sort of
It's
put
okay,
you
it's
in
okay, that's okay.
interrupted.
That was Kirienko, former prime minister, so I had to speak. Okay, let's continue.
At the beginning, in 92, you were still in the government, weren't you?
Yeah.
Yes. Could you just describe to me a little bit what were the considerations, what were the debating, how did you discuss it in the government? You know, try
There was
giving a picture so I can.
Okay, there was no debate. We had a very clear plan. We had a blueprint prepared long ago. We joined the government. We joined as a whole team in the end of 1991. It was November 1991. We had a very clear plan for everything, for privatization, for currency regime, which was my responsibility, foreign trade liberalization, I guess, again, it was my responsibility. Then for, I don't know, for budgetary reform, for everything. We had a very clear blueprint, which has been elaborated not only by us, but we have a big group of foreign advisors, very famous names, with whom we met regularly during 1990, 1991. Famous names, I know, Bill Nordhaus from Harvard, Rudy Dornbusch from MIT, Dick Cooper. That's all famous, well-known economists of the absolutely highest rate. And so jointly we had a blueprint, and it would be fair to say that it was a joint blueprint, not only prepared by Russians. And we didn't have discussions in the of 1992. We had discussions in 1990, but when we came, we had a very clear plan. We knew exactly what we were preparing to do.
Theoretical plan, which actually failed.
Well, several things failed. First of all, I guess that one important thing which we were not able to stake, it was a strict monetary policy.
Sorry?
Strong monetary policy. Well, there's a lot of talks about shock therapy. De facto, we didn't have a shock therapy. We had a mild monetary policy. We printed too much money under the pressure, and de facto already in February of 1992, under pressure from coal miners, the budgetary policy partially collapsed. So we couldn't withstand the political pressure.
There was no panic? I mean,
No. There was no panic at all. There was no panic at all. No, we were absolutely sure that we knew what to do, and the life proved that we really knew what to do, because in 6 months we had full shelves of everything. We had exchange bureaus in the streets. We had free foreign trade, which began to grow, and many other things. So de facto, there was absolutely no collapse, and 1992 was a success. And in 1994, Moscow was already a different city. If you came here, I don't know whether for some of you definitely are of Russian descent. So anyway, if some of the group, and especially people of Israel, know that, but if you recollect 1991 and compare with 1994, it was already a different life. So I guess basically it was a success, but we were not able to implement at all social programs which we wanted to implement. That's pension reform, due to political pressure, due to, I don't know, not enough support from Yeltsin, due to many things. That all social programs were put aside. So I think that we were able to do many things, but at the same time, not everything, and not as tough as possible.
So when I come with criticism from the West,
Yeah.
that actually in the middle there were so many collapses and the people were so hurt.
I guess it's wrong. It's wrong. If you compare with what? Compare with 1991. That's the country was just on the brink of collapse. Cold winter, shortages of everything, and many other things. The level of living was very, very low. So what Gaidar government really, of course, did, I wouldn't say that they saved the country. I wouldn't exaggerate the role of the government, but de facto life after Gaidar was much, much better than before. So that's a big myth that people had money. They had money on their accounts, but you couldn't use this money because it was just some nominal money, but with no real value. You couldn't buy anything in the shops, and many other things. So de facto, what happened was definitely a success. I would think not enough success, not very fair success for many, but people are much better off now than they were before Gaidar came into power.
So why is Gaidar so hated here? Why is Chubais so hated?
Well, first of all, sometimes history, you need more time for fair assessments. That's number one. Number two, they made some things which not everybody liked. For example, this loan for share scheme, which really was, I guess, was very unfair. Then some people, and some social groups lost part of their wealth, and not everybody liked that. So I think in the history, Gaidar will be assessed very, very positively. Currently, I think that many people, there's a big change of life. There's a big change of lifestyle for, I don't know, you spoke with professor of economy yesterday. Professors lost a lot. Professors or academics, they were highest level of Russian society. Nobody knew these professors outside the country. There are professors of economy who couldn't pass exams for the, I don't know, 2 grades in Harvard, but they're professor of economy. So they lost a lot, and they don't like that. But I think it's very unfair. And for the country, I also have a lot of things to criticize, and I published some articles on critics of what we have done. But at the same time, as a whole, I think definitely was a success. It was very courageous and necessary steps done by the government at that time.
Where does the term oligarchs come from?
Well, it came from Boris Berezovsky's interview when he said that several people, he gave several names at that time in his interview in Financial Times, and he said that several people rule the country. And if business, there's people from business rule the country, they are de facto these oligarchs that came from Greek, not from Russian or Yiddish or from any other language. But anyway, that was partially he was true. It was a right opinion, because business in 1996, 1998, they played very important role in at least advising the country. But not all the business, but there were several people, especially Mr. Berezovsky himself, who played a very important role in ruling the country. And so that's a very natural term, oligarch.
Yes, you really think that the oligarchs had a large part in changing the country, those 7 oligarchs?
Well, they had important role in Yeltsin's election of 1996, and specifically Berezovsky and Gusinsky, maybe these 2 people, they were involved in everyday decision-making on business. No, not Potani, not Khodorkovsky, not Friedman. I guess especially it was Berezovsky and Gusinsky. All the rest were trying to build their business. It was their main preoccupation, not politics.
Do you think in history they will be put in as saving Russia from communism?
I'm not sure. I'm not sure. I think that that's well, you never know, but I think that Russia has been saved from communism in 1992. After that, this threat of a communism was already some sort of a myth. Even if Zyuganov had been elected in 1996, I don't believe he could stay long enough. I wouldn't believe that he could reprivatize or could make. We can see in Eastern European countries when former communists come into power, there's no big changes. So de facto, I guess, communist regime evaporated in this country in 1992. And 1996, even if they came back, they couldn't stay. So I think that that's a myth which is used by some of people involved in 1996 elections, by Berezovsky, by the way, that it was a absolutely necessary role. I don't think it was the case.
Yes. How much is Alpha Group worth today? May I ask such a question?
Well, that's a very difficult question, because in order to say how much somebody wants to buy, but nobody wants to buy anything. So we have a question whether you are going to sell the bank. We are prepared to sell the bank, but nobody wants to buy it. We had no single proposal ever. So that's a very difficult question. For example, we control Tymini Oil Company. We control 50% of that. And the production is more than 50 million tons of oil a year. Average price for oil company outside Russia, for Western oil company, would be $2 billion for 1 million of production. It means $100 billion. In this country, we couldn't sell it for 5 or 10. So that's absolutely a rhetorical question. We don't know the answer.
But many billions.
Again, nobody even proposes this figure.
What do you think the future is going to be?
Well, we are optimistic about the future. I think that Russia now in a stable political situation. Russia is becoming more Western than before, which I guess is what Russia needs. Russia has very good fundamentals. Well, that's, inflation figures not too bad, very good growth figures, hard currency reserves going up, not very strong burden, not very serious burden of foreign debt, which definitely can be serviced. Budget is very good. Russia had more than 6% budgetary profits, which is a very, very good figure, and so on and so forth. So I think that Russia, even if oil prices go down, Russia has very good chances for stable growth in the next several years. If that's the case, then foreigners might come, so we can see serious changes in the market.
I want to ask you a specific question about the relations of Israel to the Russian business, which is very problematic. What do you think about it?
Well, I don't know why it's problematic. And
you know, in Israel they have the stigma of the Russian mafia?
Well, there's not only in Israel, they have stigma of Russian mafia everywhere. So I think that's, well, first of all, there's a big group of Jewish businessmen and who came to Israel. And they, with wealth, unusual wealth for Israel. Israel is not a very wealthy country, personal wealth is not very big, and then some Russians come, very, very wealthy, and they show their wealth, which is not very unknown for Jews, but anyway, I guess even for Israel, that's already some generation for different culture. So that's very natural. But I think that it's also very natural consequences of the first stage of development of capitalism. I guess it will all disappear. And here in Alpha, we have many people from Israel in staff. We have many people who left the country 30 years ago, 25 years ago, and then they're back with American passports, with Israeli passports, Canadian passports, and they're with us now with Alpha Bank. And I think that there is absolutely no problem in that. So I think that
Alpha Bank, sorry, is not anti-Semitic, but Israel is anti-Semitic.
Alpha Bank is absolutely not anti-Semitic. I can assure you.
So is Israel anti-Semitic against the Russian Jews? I mean,
Well, I don't know. That's a question that I can ask you. I don't know. But I would expect that if you have quota of population, at least quota came 20%, including my relatives. So with my relatives, maybe a little bit more. But anyway, I don't think that's a question for you. I hope that their special attitude towards some ethnic groups would not exist in Israel, because that's for the nation which knows how it goes. It would be very unusual. But there are rumors that that's the case. I think it's very unfair. And again, you can feel that unfair attitude towards Russian business in all the countries and towards Russians. I hope that Israel would be able to avoid it. But if that's the case, that's a pity.
You know about Russian businessmen who wanted to make business in Israel and were denied because of prejudice?
I won't mention examples, but
Why not? You know, if the Israelis are wrong, tell them.
well, I think that still in Israel, I would mention examples, but we also had several attempts. Of course, there's some perception about Russian business, which is very difficult to struggle with. Well, fortunately, Alpha has a good reputation, but even Alpha is a Russian group. So if we want to build a serious business in Israel, and I'm sure that we have these examples, we might face problems. That's of course. But I guess you just need time for that to change. And Russians, again, to be sincere, Russians made a lot to build this image of mafia, of money laundering. So you just need time to prove the different. And we are doing that, but our everyday activity. And hopefully it will change everywhere, then in Israel as well.
Yes. Do we have some more time?
5 minutes.
So I want to this question of the Israeli attitude towards the Russian, because it's very disturbing. You really think, you know, if you come like a person, I don't know whether you know Michat Shorny, who wanted to make business in Israel and was denied, you must have some sort of, you know, more specific knowledge about it, more specific, I don't know how to put it.
Of course, well, I think that it was very wrong to accuse somebody with no clear facts. And I am very much against accusing of anyone, Chorny, Gusinsky, whoever is in Israel, to accuse somebody without real facts, without real legal procedure, by rumors. Because we all have this experience from the Soviet time when we were accused on something, and it's like Kafka. You struggle with bureaucracy, you struggle with something, you don't know with what, you have to prove something, you don't know what to prove, and that's an impossible situation. I think that you have to be always based, not on rumors, but on legal cases. If that's a question of reputation and rumors, reputation based on rumors, it would be very wrong to make real decisions in business or political terms. So Russians, unfortunately, are definitely under this sort of suspicions all the time that they were involved in something wrong. If no clear legal cases are proved, I would avoid making any sort of these conclusions. I believe that some Russian businessmen under this sort of atmosphere, inside this atmosphere, which is completely wrong. But again, that's unfortunately it's unavoidable.
Did you meet Yeltsin personally?
Yeah.
Well, can you describe it? What kind? How was the meeting with Yeltsin? Give some
I guess he was
personal, turn him to a person.
I guess he was very strong personality, very strong. When you were just with very strong energy. I met him in 1991, 1992, 1993, not after. At that time, he was very strong, very aggressive. He didn't pay attention to details.
What do you mean aggressive?
You could feel that he's strong, like a strong animal. You know, you have this feeling, very strong. And that's what feeling you mainly had, very strong. Definitely with serious charisma. He could be very impressive. And he could build the image of some sort of a big father who helps you, who supports you, and who is stronger than you. And he was a little leader.
You came in, what did you offer? He offered drinks, or he said sit down. How did you call?
No,
Personal names?
oh no, he was always personal names. For me, it's Pyotr Olegovich in Russian. And he always used, in Russian, that's ты and вы. That's, he was always polite, very official, and very polite, always. For him, he couldn't, I never heard him speaking loudly, very precise, very clear, and very, I guess, very politely.
Did you drink together? Did he?
I did. Well, I was in trips with him.
You know, give me a picture. It's TV. Try and picture it to me. You came in. What was the
I guess it was very personal. Like I think it's my comments. I didn't spend too much time with him, and I was not inside his inner circle. So I took part in the trips, in drinks and everything, but it was nothing very unusual.
So you sat down. He gave. What did you drink?
Vodka usually. But I'm not the best person to ask about Yeltsin. No, I'm not. I was not too close to him.
Okay, you know, because it's TV, I want to visualize. You were sitting in '96 before the elections in Berezovsky's house.
Yeah.
What did you discuss? How was it? Explain it.
Well, usually it's simple. Usually Berezovsky invited everybody whom he thought was important to invite. And he put the agenda, and we discussed what we had to do and made a joint decision. It was usually once a week or once in 2 weeks. We met in Berezovsky house in Novokuznetskaya. And sometimes somebody from administration, as Yumashev or Tatiana Dichenko, came, and we discussed what had to be done and how it had to be financed if necessary. But mainly we discussed managerial things. And it was very open discussions. So how it was?
You sat around the round table?
It was not a round table. It was, I don't know how it's in English.
Elliptic?
It was a more elliptic table, yeah, that's right.
Were there seats,
It was absolutely free. There was no exact seats for anyone. It was absolutely free atmosphere, and you could drink, you could eat, because it was all managed. The house was very good managed at that time, so you could have dinner if you wanted. No, if not, not.
Food was good.
Food was relatively good. Yeah.
How was Tanya Dichenko?
Dichenko is a very nice person, also very polite, I guess, smart, was able to understand fast enough everything. And she really was and is completely devoted to her father, which was devoted to her father, and which was on an unusual scale, I would think. And it was easy. All the discussions, usually we didn't have quarrels, we had joint opinion almost all the time. But of course, Berezovsky and partially Gusinsky, they took the lead. All the rest, they were not silent, but de facto the serious role were played by Berezovsky and Gusinsky.
Did you ever discuss?
That's all. Thank you.